So how are we to take all of these different views on China? Well, let's go back to our crystal ball. Some of these books remind me of this book, George Friedman and Meredith Labard, The Coming War with Japan. Published in 1991, Friedman and Labard paint a picture in which there would unavoidably be a war between the US and Japan. Well, 3 decades later, and we're still waiting. In many ways, some of these books tell us much more about the United States and about its existential concerns than they do about China. But there must be a way in which we can try to order these arguments. Well, there is. It comes from a book I don't have with me right now because I lent it to a student during lockdown and he's now back in China. It's Stein Tornesson's 2017 work explaining the East Asian Peace, a research story. The book isn't about China as such, it's trying to explain why East Asia has experienced a prolonged period of peace. In it, Tornesson presents a couple of figures which I'm adapting here. He groups China literature into 6 possible framings. These framings are not mutually exclusive. It's possible for there to be overlap, but I find them to be useful. On the top left there, we have Pax Americana, the American peace. China will consent to the liberal world order and will not try to change things. On the top right, we have Pax Sinica. Instead of an American liberal order, we have a Chinese world order, based presumably on that Beijing consensus. Then on the right, we have rebalancing, not quite the Pax Americana nor the Pax Sinica, somewhere in between. Bottom right, we have rivalry/war with the US. The US regards the potential Chinese hegemon as an existential threat, so war results. On the bottom left, we see internal collapse. The political pressures on the Chinese Communist Party and in turn the People's Republic are so great that the regime cannot sustain itself and we will see state collapse and a dramatic shift to Western democracy. Countering that view, in the middle left, we see the opposite. The Communist Party is strong and regarded as legitimate, and as such, the regime is here to stay. I find these to be extremely useful framings of Western literature on China's place in the world. The great thing about Tornesson's work is that it has the humility not to pick one of the 6 framings as being the winner. Tornesson doesn't have a crystal ball. That's not the job of a political scientist. We can identify possibilities in certain circumstances, but we should not predict the future.